Welcome to Mojo Talks. I'm Eric, and today, a series we like to call Bingeworthy. As you know, on Fridays, we put out a video telling you what you should binge over the weekend on streaming services. And then we come back and we convene a panel on Monday to talk about some of those choices. And then we kind of compare and contrast and decide which is more bingeable. So we've assembled a panel this week. It's our junior Mojo team, or part of it. We have Noah and Miriam. How are you guys doing?
Great, how are you?
Super well.
I'm doing very good. You guys are good. So we're going to debate this time. We're talking about Dear White People Season 2 versus Arrested Development Season 4 Remixed, better known as
Fateful Consequences, the title they gave this season in particular to differentiate it from the original non-remixed cut, I imagine.
Right, and so you're going to be talking about that one. You're on Dear White People. You were a big fan of Arrested Development in the first place.
Yeah. I discovered the series after its initial run. A relative loaned me the initial run, seasons 1 to 3 on DVD, and I was absolutely hooked. I feel that it somewhat is in part responsible for shaping my sense of humor and why I am the way I am.
You as well, Miriam. You like that show, but let's put that aside. Let's get to Dear White People. Yes. Season 1, even before it started, was mired in some controversy, and then people realized, oh, this is a really good show. So where are we at with Season 2?
Yeah, so I think that any show that deals with racial issues, people are going to automatically have some thoughts about it before it comes out. Season 2 picks up right where it left off on Season 1. We're dealing with the repercussions of the news that AP House is going to be integrated. We have everyone kind of dealing with the consequences of the Troy breaking in a window, Lionel and his revelation about the journal. So there's a lot of consequences from the first season. Just a little bit about the show in case anyone's not familiar is that this is Winchester University. It's a campus with predominantly white students, and there's a small black student body. And basically it's about how these students kind of negotiate themselves around this campus and how they make their kind of identify themselves and how they negotiate those identities in that kind of an environment.
Now, Noah, you also watched Season 1.
Of Dear White People?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
And
I did.
What were your impressions?
I was not enamored of the show, as a lot, Mariam, when I were discussing this earlier. I was not as in love with the show as the majority of people were, and I totally realize I'm not I'm in the minority here. I completely realize that, but I'm always willing to be swayed, in my opinion.
Yeah. So sway us. Tell us why Season 2 makes it that much more binge-worthy.
So it's definitely, Season 2 is very much like Season 1 in that it focuses on a specific student each episode. So we see the person negotiating certain life decisions, certain struggles, just between school, family, relationships, and just identity. And so it's kind of easy that way in that you're not following one storyline the whole way through. You get a kind of all these multiple storylines. So I find that that keeps it fresh while you're watching it. So that's one of the ways that I find it very bingeable. It picks up from Season 2, but it really expands on it. So you don't feel like it's repeating itself, which is really nice because it's one of those shows where I think it can be really easy to fall into the trap of like dealing with kind of the same types of issues in slightly different ways, whereas this one it really deals with consequences from the first season. So you see the expansion of that, and then you also see there's another kind of mystery storyline that is a little bit there, and then at the very end of the season you get kind of a little bit of payoff for that mystery, but it doesn't reveal very much. So then it really sets up for Season 3 really well.
And is it easy to watch multiple episodes one after another?
I find the writing super sharp. I find the acting is incredible. And so I find that it really is a show that you can keep watching because, like I said, it's not following one storyline. So each episode really flows into the next where you kind of pick up with somebody else. So I find it super easy to watch. I find it very sharp. It's beautifully filmed, beautifully acted, and the issues are really important. And I think that any show that deals with minorities and the voices of people who don't often get heard, I think that it's incredibly important to engage with those shows, and especially a show that's so good like Dear White People that deals with such important issues and deals with it in ways that are complicated, in ways that don't make it nuanced. It's not simple, and they don't try to make it simple. And the thing that I like about the characters so much is that you have characters who do things in ways that you're like, I don't agree with that, but I understand it. So I think that they go around these really complicated choices and decisions and ideas in ways that make you understand that there's more to those decisions. So that's why I think it's really a beautiful show.
Okay, well that's a strong defense. How about you? Let's talk about Arrested Development, especially, I mean, Fateful Consequences.
Yes.
Why Fateful Consequences?
Okay, well, Mariam, you discussed polyvocality and the importance of recognizing voices that are not often heard. Fateful Consequences deals with the exact opposite of that and feels weirdly prescient now. This, I mean, obviously, for those who aren't familiar with the story of season 4 of Arrested Development, so it ran from 2003 to 2006 on Fox, and then was canceled, and then Netflix revived it in 2013 for, I believe, a 15-episode 4th season, which took a different storytelling approach than the original 3 seasons. Creator Mitch Hurwitz cited a desire to stick to a more Rashomon, the famous film by Akira Kurosawa, style of storytelling, so as to, just to try something different. It was quite ambitious.
And it didn't really work.
Yeah, no, it was not well received by fans, by critics alike, who just felt it was lacking, and that the magic of the show was drawn from the interactions between its various quirky and interesting characters.
So in other words, I guess it was 2013, 2014, they revived the show, but they did it in a different style that people didn't really appreciate, and so now they've remixed it to be more like the original.
Yes, exactly. So basically, season 4 picks up with the fictional holiday of Cinco de Cuatro, arranged by Jessica Walters, Lucille Bluth, so as to undermine Cinco de Mayo celebrations, and just creates a frame story around that, in which just kind of lets us know what the Bluth family, what hijinks they've been up to since the conclusion of season 3. Job has gotten married to, has been in an unsuccessful marriage with George Michael's former girlfriend, Anne, or Egg, whatever her name is. Her? Yeah. Michael has fallen on hard times, trying to sell the Sudden Valley sort of series of homes on the outset of the housing crisis in 2008. So they're all, the Blue family is all in a rough place. It does not get better as the season progresses. Just things get completely out of control.
But so do you feel that it worked better now that they've, because the whole idea, I think, is that this was so binge-worthy because you love seeing the interaction of the characters, but the way they did it, the first time around with season 4 is that each character was too isolated from each other. So
yeah.
Did they fix it?
I would have to say they did. I mean, obviously, no amount of editing can get all these actors in the same room together, right? you just can't fix that. But the way that the scenes have been chronologically rearranged, so as instead of focusing on a single character per episode, we get kind of, for example, there's one episode that focuses on Lindsay and Tobias's journey to India, but we see them kind of in conjunction with one another so that they kind of, they work a little better. It's just, it recaptures that original kind of spirit that the original show had, while not completely meeting that standard, but definitely inches much closer to it than the original cut of season 4.
Now, in an interesting twist, Mariam, you also binged on this season, this remix season, and you don't share the same opinion as Noah. Let's have it out, guys.
Okay, right. I mean, I do share I understand a lot where Noah's coming from, and I do agree with him on certain points. I do agree with you about the characters coming together. I mean, that's the fun part of the show, is that they're foils for each other, and I like that. What I loved about season 4 original, the unfaithful consequences.
Faithful consequences.
The faithful consequences. What I liked about the first version was that the payoff for so many jokes came several episodes down the line, and I thought that's what made it such an interesting binge watch. And it was kind of the first time I'd ever really binge watched a show like that. Was that there were jokes that you didn't fully understand, and the payoff would come 3 episodes down the line or 6 episodes down the line. And I loved that because I thought it was so sharp, and I thought it was so interesting to watch, and I thought it was just such a complex way of making a joke. And so I really appreciated that about the other season. And I also think that when it came back, I was expecting the exact same show like everybody else, and I kind of liked that they threw a wrench in it and they tried something else. I thought it was interesting to just kind of throw out the old playbook and try something new. And I appreciate when filmmakers creators try to create something completely different than what they did before. And so I thought that the risk was interesting, and I thought that it was worth it personally.
I can definitely appreciate that. I just think that when you're working with a property that's as beloved and as kind of like, I don't want to say storied, but definitely as like well regarded as Arrested Development, that obviously, I mean, it's an ambitious choice to completely issue the way things were, the original playbook, just completely throw it out the window. But I think that fans were really expecting, you know, just they didn't get the same show back that they had watched all those years ago, and I think that was disappointing to me as well. But I can definitely appreciate the idea of doing something new and trying something out.
And in remixing it, I think you made an interesting comparison to another beloved franchise.
Yeah. When George Lucas releases the special editions or the updated Star Wars of the episodes 4, 5, and 6, I kind of felt like a little bit like as a fan, you kind of go, well, why, George? We like the old ones. And I thought, Mitch, what about the courage of your conviction? You made a decision. Be proud of it. You do what you wanted to do.
It is actually kind of funny because Mitch Hurwitz I mean, this was announced with little to no notice, Fateful Consequences. I think maybe 3 or 4 days before I think it came out on Friday, May 4th, and I think on either the Monday or the Tuesday of that week, Mitch Hurwitz, the show's creator, released a note on the show's Facebook page which said, listen, we're looking to put these into syndication anyway, you know, so we're trying to see how much money we can make off of it in the short term, which I assume was self-effacing, but you have to wonder if there was a little bit of truth to that.
And another season coming out imminent. It's imminent.
Yes,
right?
apparently so. In the same note, Mitch Hurwitz describes you know, if you knew how soon season 5 was coming, you'd be wondering why all this, you know, is even going on at all. Because I've read some publications saying that it's coming out by the end of May, which I'm not entirely sold on, but hey, listen, more Arrested Development, the sooner the better, in my opinion.
You think they're going to go back to the original format?
I think that was the intention, to kind of backpedal to that. I just think it's. I can, you know, like I appreciate the idea of doing something new, but just doing it as 22-minute episodes, it just recaptures the magic and what came before. And
sometimes if it ain't broke.
Exactly, yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that's just the way to do it.
So here we have Dear White People Season 2 versus Arrested Development Season 4. Which is more bingeable? 10 seconds each to defend your stomach.
I would say Dear White People, and here's why. Because you already watched Arrested Development Season 4. Why are you going to watch it again? And also, one thing that I found super interesting was that, you know, Dear White People is very current. It's dealing with stuff that we're dealing with now. The issues are very present. And the other thing with Arrested Development, what is great about the show is that it deals with like a lot of political issues. It had like in the first season, like first group seasons, the Iraq War and all this kind of stuff that was integrated. And in this one, I had to remember, oh yeah, they're making fun of Herman Cain. Oh yeah, they're making fun of the housing crisis. Everything, all of their kind of references felt really dated. So I feel like if you're gonna binge something, binge Dear White People.
Okay, no.
Okay, well to that point, I would actually say that, okay, so yes, Arrested Development Season 4 originally it came out in 2013, but it still accurately reflects our political climate. I mean, you can't watch the Bluths and their just like airheadedness and not think, oh, those are the Trumps. Those are, come on, it's very similar. And there's an entire subplot in this season regarding a far right-wing politician played by Terry Crews named Herbert Love, who wants to build, you know, an entire, it's all about a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. So listen, it was fairly prescient. I totally see that. Yeah. But it was fairly prescient, you know, and it is honestly a little uncomfortable to watch in, you know, knowing what we know now. I just think that Arrested Development is a bit lighter than Dear White People, not to take away from it. It's a bit lighter, it's 22-minute episodes, and it's designed to be watched over and over.
Why don't we let the people decide? Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. Let us know in your comment which show you think is more binge-worthy, and we'll be back with more talks very soon. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.